everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Alessandrini, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tom O'Gorman. Tom, how you doing?
Hello. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just noticed that my window wasn't exactly where it needed to be, so that's why the intro seemed a little distracted. Don't know if anybody caught that or not.
I
So,
did know.
okay, they definitely did. If you look, if you skip back about 30 seconds, you're gonna be like, that was a distracted intro. Tom, how's it going? You kind of had a little bit of a rough weekend. Racing is
And
hard sometimes.
I'm freaking tired of I come to you with another bad weekend of racing, and I feel silly complaining about that, but I'm tired of starting podcasts with like, this weekend was bad.
Well,
But
I think it's just a testament to how hard racing actually is, right?
it is, and it also, I was thinking about this a lot because it is obviously what I did this weekend, that for most, I think racing is, as much as you like to think of it as like what's the quote? Racing is life and everything else in between is just waiting or whatever. I butchered that, but
yeah, somebody in the comments will fix it for you, but I think we get the gist.
Yeah. When you have a bad race weekend, a lot of people go back to something else, and it's kind of like what I have. So I feel like these race weekends that go badly are just like amplified to the nth degree for me, and they bleed into everything else. But man, last week we had that awesome announcement. We got to reveal that we're racing this year, and I'm kind of a Bridgestone partner this year. And then we had an accident on Saturday, and the car got crashed pretty bad. So now we're like kind of in limbo of what that WRL program is going to look like a little bit, because we don't have a car anymore. So everything else, like the deal is like the Bridgestone partnership is still strong, and I can do all the other things that we have planned. But
now it's just gonna be a little harder to make good on it because you're like, oh, this was the vessel of my penetration into like having being an influencer, and I'm gonna promote the Bridgestone brand, and this is my vessel for it. And now the vessel is twisted. So
yeah. So I
womp.
think long term it'll be fine. We have plans to try to get back out by the second to next race from now, which is Charlotte at the end of June. But the next race was supposed to be in 2 weeks at Road America, and there's just no way. So, man, it sucks. It sucks. But
I mean, what if you just got a GT4 Cayman? I feel like you could just go to the dealership and buy one of those, right?
actually, I'm just going to steal yours. Peter, I'm coming for your Cayman.
Peter, do you mind if we cage your Cayman?
Yeah.
Hey, that Cayman set the fastest lap time at CMP in full street mode. There was another Cayman there.
That's true.
It did not go faster than the one on street tires.
But I guess worse things have happened to better people. So it's not the end. Like I said, not the end of the world.
It's just a setback.
It was a crappy weekend.
Yeah.
Crappy weekend. Plus, so I mean, we were there Friday, third year in a row at the WRL weekend at Mid Ohio that it snowed most of the day. It was crazy. So we didn't even drive that much on Friday. And when we started the race, I started the race. We started 22nd in class because we didn't really qualify during the snow day. And I had run a time in one of the non-qualifying sessions that would have been close to top 10. It would have been like 13th in qualifying. So I was like fairly optimistic that, especially with this new car, it was like, okay, this isn't like, we're going to be a little more competitive than I thought. I shouldn't say more competitive than we thought, but it's a decent start. And then 2 laps into the race, I was side by side with somebody in the back, kind of multiple corners. I had come around the outside of turn 5 at Mid Ohio. We were down into turn 6, and they just turned in like I wasn't there. So I have to remember that the back of GTO is a little more like iRacing than it is like GLTC. But
yeah, see, that's when I was racing GLTC, I always wanted to show up with like the best tires because I didn't want to be back like 6-7 rows because my budget only allowed me like 3 sets of tires for the year, right? So like I probably could have raced more, but then I would have been like farther back. And then there's like you expect people to race at the level that like you're able to race at, and racing like outside of that, where like the awareness and the bandwidth and everything that's available, when you're just a little farther back in the pack, where like that's a little bit more limited, it sometimes stuff like just catches you out because they back in the pack, like where you put your car, nobody else probably in that area would have done that. So that person just assumed that they were fine when they turned in, right? But at the front, it's like, we're here. I'm going to give you room. I'm going to give you a place to exist. And then we're going to race this out, right? But
Yeah.
it's like when the car is a little off pace and you're kind of you're driving around like with like a little bit of a handicap, you find yourself in situations where like the flow doesn't exactly happen how you would want it to.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
gets
It was
awkward.
I
It
was
gets
thinking
very
about it on the
awkward.
warm up. I was thinking about it on the warm up lap. I haven't started this far back in a field other than like starting at the back of a GLTC race when I was disqualified or when I was like broken from a previous race. It's like, oh, this is going to be a new fun challenge. But I knew that I just needed to take my time and it was not going to be that big of a stressor to like race to the front
Yeah.
because it's like our first race. We weren't even expecting to be able to win. So uh, I took like a lap and a half to assess, okay, where can I make my first kind of moves? And we were definitely down on straight line off the corner, but our straight line top speed wasn't too bad. But the straight line, like the acceleration right off the corner, was kind of hindered a little because we were only in a smaller engine car, lighter and everything. So yeah, I kind of left myself space coming into the back straight or off the back straight. Kind of took the run through 4 and outbroke up into 5. So we were side by. I'm talking with my hands down here. Sorry, outbroke into 5 around the outside, and I guess they didn't expect me to do that. And our camera didn't work, so by default I got blamed, which was that's happened to me before too. I'm like, I just look bad. It's just
What is up with
nothing.
Tom McGorman and cameras?
I'm cursed. I'm cursed. If it's well, I don't know what it is. It's always the video you need the most. We've talked about that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like I hate that I don't have that race where I was battling Andy, like the whole race at Road America, the race before I crashed. Um,
Yeah.
because that was, I still think about that race. I still like bring up the broadcast every once in a while, even though the broadcast was like not the best because it was like mostly drone cameras and like the commentators would be talking about stuff that's like not on camera and stuff like that. So like there was still like some growing pains with the Grid Life broadcast. It's like it's improved so much since then. And I just like, but I'll see like little glimpses like where my mirror like folds Andy's mirror on like the entry into 6 and I'm just like, "Oh, that was so cool." So,
Yeah. And at least you have his video to watch too. So you can't see
yes.
yourself all the time, but you can like remember where you were.
Mhm. Yep, yep. It just like brings me back to like memory lane. I've actually been watching a lot of stuff like that because I'm getting to race wheel to wheel again this weekend, which is GLTC is not the same as endurance. So like I'm like trying to remember like the intensity of it and like just I remember when I first started racing and I've had a lot of these memories like flooding back to me because I have a bunch of Facebook memories from 5 years ago. This last weekend was my first ever wheel to wheel race, which was at Mid Ohio, but it was with Grid Life, right? So
Hmm.
I
I
got
saw
a
that.
lot of those memories on Facebook, and I was like watching like all the videos and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've come so far. Like, I remember like coming away from that event, and I was like, the driving is fine. I need to like fix the car, but then like I watch the driving now, and I'm like, man, I left a lot of time out there.
Yeah.
um, but like
The
I'm
one that I enjoy go
go
oh, go
ahead, go
ahead.
ahead. No, no, go ahead.
There's two that I go back that you made me think of. One that I go back and watch a lot when I got to race that C4 Corvette in the Road America race at GLTC.
Yep.
I think we've talked about that one more recently, but the first time ever, it was the first season NCM was open, was 2015, I think. No, yeah, 15. And I had got my B spec car and I took it to an SCCA regional race down there. And I still have the video in car. Somehow I don't know why I had in car that weekend in particular, but
It's because it
I
was
had
somebody
the in car
else's
video.
camera.
It must have been. I just like
Yeah.
of all the weekends to have a thing, it's like my first race in this fit. Uh, my first time driving NCM is on the video there, and it's like we know how hard NCM is, but we also know it now.
hmm
Going back and watching that from 10 years ago, the first time ever driving it, not knowing how to drive it, and just like applying what I thought would work to the track,
Yep.
so wrong everywhere. But it's like fun to go back and watch and just be like, oh, he was cute. He thought he knew what he was doing.
Exactly. I do that with like old autocross runs too.
Oh,
I used to
yeah.
watch, I remember there was a particular run. It was Brian Highcotter. I forget what year in Nationals, but he was driving a 350Z, and I would watch that run. I'd watch it. It was like something I would do to like notice my mistakes because I would watch like a really, really well executed run. I'd watch it like over and over and over and over and over again. I bet I'm half the views on this like particular Brian Highcotter video. And then I would go back and watch one of my runs that I was like super proud of. And I would
Mhm.
see the difference. I'd be like, yeah, he would have carried more speed through that. Oh, he like rolled the weight around the edge better. Oh, I'm a little too like punchy, like point and shoot. I would like see the differences and like the vision and the way that the speed flowed with the car and then the slaloms and I would like see it. But if I only watched my video, I would just be like, yeah, that was a good run, right? But then when you watch somebody who does it better, and then go back to yours, you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm seeing where the mistakes are."
Sure. Do you was it the same track, the same course?
Um, no,
Like you and him? You're
nope.
just saying you would watch him as like
I would just
a
watch
reference
him.
point in general.
Yeah, just the way he this was like real early. It was like, probably like the, middle of like 2016, which is like when I like made the conscious decision to be like, "I'm gonna get good at this."
Yeah.
So like I really started just like lizarding in hard, just to try to just pick up like the little nuances. I'm pretty sure I've told the story on this podcast before, but basically I went to the 2016 Toledo Pro Solo and got like dead last, and it was at that point where I'm like, oh my god, look how good people can get at this. Like, and I was like enamored, and I'm like, I want to be as good as David Marcus or Brian Highcotter or the Alex Jones. I remember just like or Matthew Braun. I remember like all the local people that would like just like crush me. Tom, you weren't there. I didn't know that you existed yet. I'm sorry. In 2016, I didn't know you existed. I think I started to understand Tom's existence. It might have been a Slip Angle podcast because I just started
Oh
autocrossing.
yeah.
I just started autocrossing, and people would talk about the Slip Angle podcast. So I started listening to it, and like right as I started listening to it, you had an episode where you talked about it was kind of like your like story, right? And I went,
Mm.
I started autocrossing, and Tom made it to pro racing. Well, if this guy can do it, like I could do it. I just have to like try my hardest because it sounds like he
Mhm.
tried really hard, right? Like that's and then so then that's kind of like what led on to that. And then I remember I would see you like at events every once in a while and be like, "Oh, that's the guy that was on that Slip Angle episode, right?" Like that's and then it wasn't until like 2017 Solo Nationals where I'm like, "I'm gonna go talk to Tom." And then a
And look
French
at us now. We're
and then a
still
friendship was born.
blossomed and we're still the podcast guys.
Yep. Uh, yeah, it's, man, thinking about, like, the journey is really fun. Anytime something comes up and it just kinda, like, makes me, like, look at old pictures or old videos or anything like that, it's super fun, and so, yeah, I've been watching a lot of that stuff because 'cause I'm trying to, like, remember the intensity. Like, the one thing that I've picked up on the like, watching, uh, like like, old footage that, like, iRacing doesn't communicate this well, or it's, like, something that, like, really isn't an iRacing. It's when somebody is in front of you and it looks like they're going to crash, and then they don't, and that
Oh yeah,
happens
yeah.
all the time. And then I remember when I first started racing, I would lift because 'cause I'm like, "They're gonna die," and then they would be fine, and I'm like, "Crap, I shouldn't have lifted."
Yeah. There was a 911 Cup car that started behind me in the race this weekend, and it was quicker. He went by me like right at the start, and I was following him through the field a little bit, and he was like, whoever was driving it was doing a good job, but the car looked pretty nervous, and it would kind of pivot right after he came off the brake, and then he'd pick up the throttle, and you could see it try to like skip the front tire off the ground just a teeny bit, but the back was out, and he had like slight neutral to counter steer through some of the corners, and it would be like, does he got it? Oh, he's got it. Oh yeah, he's doing a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
job.
yeah. And
It's
then
that
and then you,
that
like,
feeling of like,
"Huh?"
dude, the first weekend I was out track, like especially with like IT cars or GLTC cars, stuff like that, that's like not that not that gripped up, I guess, like in the grand scheme of things, they're not
Yeah.
that grippy. They're not like formula cars or something. And you can like see when the driver's starting to like rotate and have to respond to it and catch it or like center their hands up a little.
Yep,
And
yep.
you're like, do they got it? Do they got it? Do they got it? Oh, they got it. Or sometimes they don't got it.
Yeah, sometimes they don't. But when they don't have it, it looks really dramatic. But
Yeah.
there's like a thing missing in iRacing where and you'll see people slide in front of you in iRacing, but for whatever reason in real life, it just looks more dramatic. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. Maybe it's like maybe the slip angle is more in real
because
life.
it's real.
I look, I'm not gonna be cornered into this corner that you're trying to corner me into. How many times could I say corner in one sentence?
Or
Um,
real.
but
No, I don't mean that it's real racing versus fake racing. I mean that it's like reality right in front of you. Like there's no amount of detail that a computer screen can give you at the end of the day that matches reality
yeah, but
right now anyway.
yeah,
Yet.
at the moment, yeah. Wait till the next graphics cards come out. It's gonna be amazing. There's a Porsche Cup driver who always posts his he's like in Europe, and I watch his videos, and it just looks so much fun. If I was a rich dude, that's what I would be doing. Um,
Yeah.
and he posts all his videos, and he always posts the Porsche Cup got rain, and this is what it looks like on my 8090 Ti graphics card, which is like not even a thing that exists. Like the highest one right now is a 4090, so it'd be like 4 generations because it's real life. And he's like, "Oh, they patched in rain, and it just like because it looks like because he has like one of those visor cams, so it looks like
You're
iRacing."
you're saying he's making a joke that he's posting his real car video and
And he's
joking that
saying
it's a
it's
video game.
iRacing.
Got it. Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
For the
So
clicks. That's good.
yep, he gets a decent amount of clicks, and his driving is like pretty decent. He's not like he's getting better. Like I started watching him like probably like 6 months ago, and if I could remember his name, I would say it. I can't remember what his name is. He just shows up in my feed and I'm like, oh hell yeah, new video, click.
A big fan.
Maybe he should put his name like as like a title like right in the beginning, so like people actually remember his name because I feel like he's missing out on something there, right? Um, So, he's been getting better. He was like behind middle pack, and then he was mid pack, and now he's like top 5 every once in a while, and you could tell like he's just getting more comfortable with the car and like the racing and how close like they Porsche Cup, they like race like it's Spec Miata, but they're like in like Porsche Cup cars. It's actually kind of wild.
So I did have one thing from this weekend, and then enough about my shitty weekend.
Okay.
Uh, even though I only raced for like 1.5 laps wheel to wheel, that's the fastest and heaviest cars I've ever actually done wheel to wheel with. I would say because the TCR was close, but it was on race tires. These are on 200 treadwear tires,
Yeah.
and the just the momentum of like faster, heavier cars interacting with one another on lower grip. It's like I think people don't appreciate that in the same way that some people can't appreciate what it's like to drive a heavier no aero car on a track in general. You know how like Ito's car feels versus a GLTC car.
Yeah.
You watch someone Ito's car is a C6 Z06 for our listeners who may not know him. If you drive a stock Z06 on track, it moves in a way and it takes time to settle in a way that you can't appreciate until you do it. And then moving that into wheel to wheel was actually really cool too. I was like interested about that, but then it didn't last very long. Womp womp.
Womp womp. You'll get back out there.
Anyway,
This is just a
yeah.
setback. There's there's no way this is the end of the GTO Rockwell effort.
Well, it can't be. They're not allowed to have it be that. Anyway, how was your weekend? What'd you do?
I did it actually. So I would where we left the last episode, I was like kind of planning on coming out and hanging out with you. But then I got a bunch of last second coaching on Saturday. So I was like, okay, cool. Like like I'm obviously gonna do this. Um uh and so yeah, I had a decent amount of coaching to do on Saturday, and then on Sunday I went to an autocross event, and damn it, Tom, Peter Schnorr beat me.
Did he?
Yeah, that son of a bitch. I can't believe
Well
him.
done, Peter.
Yep, he got
Wait,
me.
okay. Are you disappointed in your performance?
No, I felt like I was driving pretty good. I will say that it took Peter too many runs to get to finally beat me because he got me on the last run. Like I did that run and then like kept doing it over and over and over again, and then Peter like got me by a couple hundreds right at the end, and I was like, oh, in the competition that we're doing, that wins. Dang it.
True. So
So
you won nationals, but he won that event.
yeah,
What you're saying
yeah.
on the 3 run rule?
Yep. And it was a Akron Sports Car Club event. So me and Tom have talked about those events before, where it's like it's not like a it's like a mini road course with like some cones on it. They use like the service roads of like a drag racing paddock, And so,
Yeah.
like, the grass is, like, the limit a lot of, like, to the edge of the pavement. So, there's something, like, oddly satisfying about, like, having a car slide to, like, the last inch of the pavement, rather than,
Yeah.
like, the last inch before you hit a cone. Like, something about, like, last inch of pavement just, like, is more satisfying. Uh, so but they're weird courses because it's just all, like, 90-degree turns, right? So,
Yeah, it's not traditional autocross exactly.
yeah.
I almost came, but I after the weekend I saved myself the 4 hours of driving around again.
Where did you go,
But
like,
that's
right
cool.
after? You just went home?
I just went home.
Tom,
Yeah.
did you
I
see
thought
the
about going back to either go ahead.
did you see the eclipse today?
I did.
Were you hanging out
Yeah,
with Ed?
we went over to Ed CZ's house, and Eric came up, and Dan Howard came over, and Colton Wade and his wife came over, and then Ed and his wife Rachel were there, and we had the glasses, and we stared at the sun, and did a whole thing. We made pizza, we made some sausages, we
Was
made
it
some buffalo chicken dip.
where Ed's house was it totality?
Total, yeah, absolutely. But I didn't realize because this happened like 2017, 2018. Is that right?
Yeah,
The last one.
2017, yep.
I don't remember it being that big of a deal then. Other than the president looking at the sun, but like that's the last thing I remember from it. This one, like the world stopped. It felt like there were so many people, there were so many cars, like traffic was crazy.
I forgot about Trump staring at the sun.
And then as I was driving to Ed's house, I've never seen that many people outside in public before. I don't think like just in front of their houses. I was like, is this what it used to be before everyone had computers and TV screens and stuff? People were just outside.
So in 2017, it like totality was just like it just like sweeped like a couple eastern states, if I remember. Um, I don't remember exactly. Uh,
Yeah, I think it went from like South Carolina to Washington diagonally that way across the country.
Maybe we could look it up because it's the path is available to look at. But like for most of the country, it was just like partial, right? And it only seems like it's
Right.
a bigger deal for us because we live in the spot where like totality was like capable of like getting to. And I will say, look, I know there's gonna be some we have a wide ranging audience. It was way cooler than I thought it was gonna be. Like, when it was, like, dark and you could see stars and you just have this, like, disk up in the sky with, like and you could see, like, a solar flare, like, shooting out the bottom of the sun, like, that was freaking cool. I was like,
It was cool.
this is wild." Like, I love instances where I feel, like, super tiny and insignificant, and in that moment, I'm like, "Nothing matters." And it's like, it was kind of a cool feeling.
If you transpose that statement towards any other like topic, I feel like that would be so sad, but I know what you
Yeah.
mean with this one. I couldn't believe how cool it got for those like 3 minutes that the sun was blocked.
Right.
Did you notice the temperature drop?
Well, it started dropping when it was like 90% coverage, right? Like you
Mhm.
and it was almost like the wind picked up a little bit and like there was a crow that started like hawking like near us like the sun went down. And so like I was outside with Christine and then I ran inside for something. I don't remember what it was, but I got like distracted by my trumpet and I like played through a song real quick and then like I came back out. So like I was inside for like 5 minutes when I should have only been inside for like a minute, right? So I came back outside 5 minutes later and like the light was
That's so
completely
funny.
different. I was like, whoa, it's way because like normally you walk outside and like, you know, the sun hits you and it's like, woo, or like it you like your eyes have to adjust to it. And I just walked
Yeah,
outside and it felt like I walked into like a lit up room. It didn't
yeah.
feel like I walked outside, which was like kind of
Like
wild.
like this.
Yeah.
You were this, and then you went like this.
Yeah,
Or-
that's normally Tom's messing with the exposure on his camera.
yeah.
But
Sorry, audio listeners.
it was I I kept doing my eyes are a little like sandy right now, so if you're watching the audio thing and you're like, "Why is DJ like have his eyes half closed?" It's cuz I kept accidentally looking at the sun. Like I would have the glasses on top of my head and then be like, "Oh, I wonder where it's at." What did I do that for? I
Uh,
kept doing that.
it was your instinct to like whether your glasses were on or not. You wanted to look up.
Yeah, you wanted
It
to
was
be
pretty
like,
cool though.
because my brain would be like, oh, because I was doing other stuff. I was like poking around in the garage as like you know that hour that it was like coming over, right? So, um,
Did
oh,
you get the day off?
No, I just clocked out for lunch.
Gotcha.
So I had a very late lunch.
I see. I see.
Um, but yeah. Like Chip says, in the chat, he says the crickets and pepper frogs started going nuts. Um, yeah, you like it, like the animals just went up, crap, it's night, do nighttime stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it was funny. Christine thought that the cat was scared of the eclipse because she was hiding under the bed, and uh, it like took us both a second to realize, oh no, it's because people for some reason shot off fireworks during the eclipse. I don't know why that was a thing. Can you imagine? You have Tom, you have 3 minutes at most, maybe 4 minutes if you're like dead center. You probably only had like a minute and a half, right? Because you weren't as center. Oh, Chip, I love that picture of your dog wearing those glasses. um,
Yeah.
anyways, are you wasting your time like lighting a fuse and like shooting it up in the air and then like you're gonna look at the firework you just launched? You can launch a firework at any point. What are you doing? Look at the disc in the sky. Look
They're
around.
celebrating.
Yeah,
Don't
maybe.
yuck their yum.
Okay, I guess I am yucking their yum. I'm sorry, Tom. But it was
That's okay.
it was pretty legit. I think so. Me and Christine were like looking like where that. So there's gonna be one in Spain, but it's only gonna be like the very tip of Spain. The rest of it's gonna be in Africa. So like we would go. I don't know what peninsula it is on Spain, but it's like on the very southern end of it. We could see totality there, but it will only be like a minute because it's like on the edge of totality. Or we could go to like northern Africa, which like maybe there's some tourist destinations there that I don't know about, but like probably not the best tourist destination. But Australia and New Zealand in 2028, they get totality. And New
Okay.
Zealand
I
looks badass.
I would love to go to New Zealand or Australia. That sounds like a good stretch goal. Let's have enough financial and employment freedom by 2028. Go to New Zealand for the total eclipse.
Hell yeah. So
Oh, we listened to Total Eclipse of the Heart while it was
oh my God.
during it at like full volume. It was so fun.
That's out of control. Um, Peter says shooting off fireworks during a total eclipse is only an Ohio thing.
I almost said that sounds like such an Ohio thing to do.
Yeah, it totally is. So, 2028. So if we started saving now, it would be $180 a month to 2028 to have like a proper amount of money to like go on a trip to New Zealand.
That sounds like a responsible thing to do.
Dude, it's like a car.
I'm kidding.
It's
How
like
many Chipotles is that? Think of it in terms of Chipotles.
okay, so I did. So I was like,
You-
it's only yeah. I was like, oh no, I was doing Chipotle for some other math. I was doing Chipotle for somebody's house taxes went
Hoosiers.
up. Yeah. I
Oh,
do Hoosier
okay.
math or but like somebody's house taxes that I know went up like $80 a month and they were complaining about it. And I'm like, that's like 10 trips to Chipotle. Like, I guess you just don't eat Chipotle once a week, like during the month, and like you're good, right?
Wait, they go 10 times a month? A week?
Oh, I go 10 times a week. So if
Do you really?
no, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I'm making a joke where I was like guys, in order for me to have an extra $80 a month, I just won't eat Chipotle for 1 week.
You'll be fine. Then
Yeah, you'll be
you'll
good.
be in New Zealand before you know it.
But wouldn't it be cool to go to New Zealand now? Because it goes through a very small portion of Australia, which is the habitable habit.
Habitable, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Cool. I think I said it, but then my brain didn't agree with it. Um, it's a very small part of Australia, and then just New Zealand. So like, and I feel like if you're traveling from all over the world, I don't look. We have a couple Australian listeners, and I've never seen an email from any of you guys. So that you can write in and explain to me why Australia is better than New Zealand. But if I was going to spend the money to go to a place, I feel like New Zealand would be probably the place to go, right?
I've heard both are amazing, but wait, isn't Christine a big Lord of the Rings?
Yeah. So we would
So it was
go there
filmed
too.
there. That would be
Yeah.
like a reason to go one
Listen,
or the other.
dude, listen to this. So where the eclipse is gonna go by, it's like on the southern part. We Googled all this because it was supposed to be cloudy today, and I told Christine, look, if a cloud comes by, we're gonna commit. We're gonna go see the eclipse in 2028 in New Zealand, right? Like, so don't be disappointed. We're gonna go if there's a cloud. There wasn't a cloud, but it was so cool that like now we're like, well,
So you got out of it.
maybe we will go. We probably won't, but it's fun to think about. And but it's on the southern part of New Zealand, and then the Harry Potter, like, because they left the set, and now it's like a tourist destination, like all the Hobbit homes or whatever. Like you can go walk through the
You're
Hobbit
mixing up your
homes.
fantasy movies.
What did I say?
You said Harry Potter.
Oh, I always do that. I'm so sorry, all you Lord of the Rings fans.
Someone's gonna come for you now.
It's all the same. You're a Hobbit, Harry. Phil, I don't want to take credit for that. Phil said that in the chat. That's hilarious. Anyways, so they left the wizard huts, the Hobbit huts. I'm playing. They left the Hobbit huts like up, and that's like a tourist destination, and they maintain it. And like I saw pictures of it, and you can like walk around the set of it. I'm not a big Lord of the Harry Potter fan, but it's like it's just cool that it exists. And Christine loves Lord of the Rings, so we looked what it would take to drive from like where the eclipse is to like the northern part of New Zealand. It's 20 hours. Would you
New
expect
Zealand,
that?
top to bottom, is 20 hours?
It was a 20-hour drive. Now, it included a ferry between because there's two islands. I don't know how long the ferry is. I don't know, like, I have no frame of reference for like the distance, right?
Yeah.
So
I thought it was a little smaller than that because you know how on a globe or on the map, because there's no way to lay a map flat.
Yeah.
There's no way to lay the globe flat. They're like Greenland looks crazy big because it's like warped because it's all up high. And when you lay it flat, it just extends it, makes it look really big.
Yep,
I
yep.
figured New Zealand, Australia were kind of that way too. I don't know.
It might
Hey,
just
I would
be,
drive it.
It might just be. So I was saying, man, that might be the coolest road trip ever, though. Like a road trip in another country, like across New Zealand, like some of the most beautiful landscape like in the world.
Yeah.
That might be a road trip worth having.
The Hollises did that, and I think they said they basically, I forget if they did it in a camper or a car. I think they did it in an RV though. They rented an RV and went from the bottom to the top, and then like did a one-way thing
In New Zealand,
so you don't have to drive it all the way back. Yeah, yeah. I could be lying, but
so
I would want to definitely go to a racetrack along the way somewhere. I couldn't go to Australia without going to at least one of the racetracks down there.
Slow Carlos in the chat says the eclipse goes over Bathurst. Oh, Christine, I'm so sorry. Oh, I heard the Harry Potter exhibit's not up anymore.
The Harry Hobbit. Hobbit Potter.
Ooh.
I just do both. Just do both.
Do
Save
both.
an extra Chipotle a week and do both.
An extra Chipotle a week.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That I think at that point it'd be like I would see the tough part at that point is gonna be the vacation days, right? Well, assuming I'm working a job with like the same amount of vacation days, like 4 years from now.
True.
I could have hit the lottery and then it doesn't matter. Never know. But the vacation days is gonna be the hard part because I'm still gonna race in 2028, so I can't spend all my vacation days to look at Harry Potter's house and like go to a park that sometimes turns into a racetrack.
What if you race it down there?
If I get to race it?
Yeah.
You
Two
know,
birds, one stone, three birds technically.
every week we get 2 downloads from New Zealand. I don't know who you guys are. 2 downloads from New Zealand. We have 2 listeners in New Zealand. Also, word of mouth, guys. Come on, let's grow that to like at least 3. But
Yeah.
we've been stuck at
Tell
2
your
for a
Hobbit
while.
friend.
Yeah. Go like do a spell. I
Oh my
wonder
God.
how many like Harry Potter substitution Lord of the Rings jokes I can make before like Christine just turns the podcast off.
She's listening in the other room, just waiting for her chance to ambush.
That's fine. Spells don't work on me.
Or the ring. whichever one he does.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so you autocrossed and you felt okay about it, but you got beat.
I got beat by Peter. Peter, he's pretty good at this stuff, turns out.
That's cool.
I'm rooting
Congrats,
for
Peter.
him. I'm rooting for him for Charlotte in 2 weeks. I was supposed to go. Oh, I need to cancel my. Did they give you a refund? Because I signed up for it.
I don't know. I don't know.
I might have wasted $160. Hopefully, I didn't. Maybe I can use it
I think there
toward
is a.
another event.
I think there's a cancellation point where they either refund you or credit you. I don't
Okay,
know. Don't take my word on that.
it's something I gotta investigate. SCCA, if you're listening, look, I'm gonna spend the money again, but just not this event. You can give me a credit. I don't care. So yeah, so Peter beat me. I'm grateful for Peter for letting me drive a car because it's actually been like 2 or 3 weeks since I drove a car. So like it was actually I drove a bunch and then I just went on like a dry spell before driving again. And it turns out
Yeah.
like your CMP test day looks like it's going to be raining all day on Thursday.
Yeah, I hope it's not fully because I'm going down just for that. And if I drive 9 hours to work my track day and it's just raining and no one's driving, and then I drive 9 hours home,
Oh,
be a little
well,
bit of a bummer.
look, I'll be driving. It's just not going to be relevant data for that race weekend because it doesn't look like it's going to be. It doesn't look like it's
Right.
going to be raining at all for the weekend. But someday when I go back to CMP and it's raining, I'll appreciate that I went out there driving. So anybody who's not driving, come on, we got to think about the future here.
It's true. True, true. I don't have anything to say to that. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
My banter was a mess.
There's one thing that I'm a little uh worried about, and it's that the car owner said that we had to bed the brakes, and brakes generally don't bed very well when it's like wet and raining.
Oh, that'll be easy though.
I don't know
Like
what
that's a small problem.
I don't know what brakes we're on. So like some brakes it really like if it's like some like Hawk DTCs they don't care. They don't really they kind of just like grab the rotor. They don't really need a really healthy transfer layer. But some brakes really need like that transfer layer for like the good interaction on the brakes. So if you're in ABS a lot when you're trying to get that transfer layer, you can get like a wobble on the rotors, and it'll be like a you ever have that like with through the pedal where it's like vibrating, like it vibrates the
Yeah,
car
but
when you're on the brakes.
just drive it the night before when it's not raining on in paddock or something.
That's my thought. Well, you kind of have to get it hot, so
I've bed so many brakes in paddock. Try harder.
okay. You know what? It's gonna be your paddock, so like I could just do whatever you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Tom said it was okay. As I'm getting
Do it on the street.
arrested. Yeah, yeah. As I'm getting arrested on the street. Tom said it was okay. Who's Tom?
Dude, it's in the middle of South Carolina, in the middle of nowhere, and you're white. You're fine.
Oh, jeez. I'm gonna use all that privilege.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Or just don't put the stickers on it yet.
Don't put the stickers. You know what? It's not a bad idea. I might already have the stickers on it.
I don't know. These are
Whatever.
small problems. I think you're gonna have a great weekend.
I think it's gonna be fun. I had some questions about Kumos because I've never I did that one spur of the moment race in Zach Lavoie's car at Gingerman on the Kumos.
Hmm.
Uh, but it was kind of wet in the beginning, so I didn't get a good feel for like how they come up to temp. Now, I was watching old videos of like when you were on Kumos before you switched over to the Bridgestones in GLTC for 2022, and you were just like a madman on the outlaps, right? So,
Yep.
is there a point where it's too much, or is just like literally as much heat as you can get into them, the better?
So my experience with them, by the way, the topic is DJ has questions about CMP, and we're just catching up. My experience with them is they translate to you. What am I trying to say? They, oh my God, I can't think of the word. Transfer, transpose, translate.
You lost me. If you lost me, you lost everyone else.
Oh no. They tell you when they're hot enough. So like
translate.
They're very vague. Yeah, I guess.
I think you
translate.
said that, but I wasn't understanding the full context.
So when you start to warm them up, especially when you're kind of doing. I like to shove the front tire across the surface.
Yep.
Like put it into an understeer on purpose. When you start doing that, it will give you very little. It'll just like the wheel will float through your hands, and it won't really try to grip at all. It will then tell you there's a clear moment where it'll tell you. My experience with the S2000, it's warm enough now. when I feel it go from
Slide to
it's
grab.
happy to slide to it's trying to grab, and it tells you like, okay, it's warm enough, then I transfer from, or I switch from like intentional wear myself out warm up to just maintenance. And I'll
Gotcha.
just kind of like accelerate and brake, and maybe every once in a while I'll do a little chopper. I watched, funny, Brian Highcotter stories. I watched Brian warm up his rear tires by like romping on the throttle and like forcing the left rear into the ground and like a big slide, and then he would just kind of like relieve the wheel and let it go straight for a second, and then do the same thing over and over
The
just to
same
warm the
tire?
left rear up, and then do the same to the right. Because I'd mostly race front wheel drive cars. I hadn't really considered how do I warm rear tires on a rear wheel drive car. So I watched him do that. I was like, okay, I know how to do that now. When I'm done warming the fronts, when I'm done doing that to the rears, then the car will start to fight you sliding because it has grip now.
Okay. And you could do that on the outlap?
Yeah, no problem.
Even the GLTC outlap? Because those are very slow outlaps.
They are. Depends on how far forward you are.
Oh,
'Cause
geez. Okay,
if
I
you
need to do well.
if you're in the front, you get a little bit of speed,
Yeah, that's
like
true.
for a moment. But if you're further back, you get more chances.
Yeah,
Like because the
kinda.
field has to catch up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Oh my
Um,
God, I forgot to turn my bedroom light on, and it's so dark on my camera. Hold on one second. Entertain the crowd.
I don't know. You kind of had a nice color to you, Tom. So Tom ran away. He slinked away. I'm gonna commentate Tom. I can see shadows moving. I don't know why it's taking him so long to turn on a bedroom light. Oh my God! How did he end up over there? Tom, do you have 2 doors in your bedroom? Oh, you can't hear me. Do you have 2 doors in your bedroom? How did you end up on the other side of the bed?
My whole house is a circle.
It's just Tom's bed is in like the middle of a room.
Yeah,
No,
pretty much.
really,
Okay, now
because
I'm not poorly lit
you
anymore. Sorry,
ran
guys.
you ran on one side of your bed, and then you like slinked away, and then all of a sudden you came like flying through the background, and then hit a light switch, which was on the other side of the bed.
I had to do a lap.
Do you have 2 doors into your bedroom?
Yeah, I just said my whole house is a circle.
What do you mean
So
it's
it's
a
just.
circle? That doesn't make any sense. You're not answering
Do you want
questions
me to?
here.
Okay, so there's that.
Oh, it's a
For this is
bathroom.
great audio
It's a
listening.
bathroom.
So
Gotcha. So
you
there's
go out
another
the bathroom
entrance.
through a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hallway, or you go over here. Oh, yeah, over here, and you
Okay.
go out into the living room.
All right. So Tom
So the whole
has
house is a circle.
yeah, got it. Okay, so to explain this where it makes sense to my brain, Tom has a master bathroom that's accessible from outside of his bedroom, but then he also just has a bedroom door.
It's just the only bathroom in the house.
But Tom says his house is a circle.
The floor plan of my house is a circle. How about that?
I still haven't seen your new house.
It's nice. I like it, but it was too dark. I looked ridiculous on camera.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I wouldn't have changed it.
you did a little bit. I'm just gonna you didn't. You looked fine. Uh, but okay, so all right, so we went over Kumos. Um, I wish I asked Jacob about his like his gear ratios because I watched videos from Luke McGrew and then Swenson, and they had wildly different gear ratios in the Corvette. Do you know what the
Yeah,
difference on those 2 cars were?
I believe Luke has the Z06 gearbox, or no, I think Luke has the ZR1 gearbox. I
It's
think he
really
has a
he has
C6
much longer
ZR1.
gears.
Yes, yes, that sounds right. Don't quote me on this. This is car talk. I don't really know, but I'm pretty confident that Luke has the C6. I think it's a C6 ZR1 gearing, and Jeremy did not. I think Luke's the only one with that gearbox. And that's, I think, part of the reason Luke's car is quick, especially at certain tracks. Like Road America, if you remember, like Luke was like lights out at Road America last year. His shift points didn't fall on any of the uphills. He could just like power through the uphills. Every other Corvette had a shift in the middle of the uphill on the front straight. And I think they were kind of in a weird spot somewhere else too. I would bet is you have the same gearbox that Jeremy and most of the other Corvettes have.
Okay. I was hoping that I had Luke's gearbox because at CMP his seemed like it was better for somebody who doesn't have a dog box engagement because it looked like Jeremy needed second for the last turn, and then he needed and then he would go to second for like the carousel, but I don't think he needed to. When I was watching that video, I was
Yeah.
like, that's kind of a point in the shift because he would shift to second, he would start accelerating, and then he would do the lift to like pivot the nose in for like the last awkward bit of that corner, and then he would while doing the lift, he would shift to third and then drive away. And it was like, you probably could have just left it in third. So
Yeah. When I drove Adam Ulrich's car, which I'm gonna guess is the same gearbox as your car, I I just stayed in third the whole time. I
gotcha.
never went to second.
What the power bands are probably similar. I haven't driven a like a super detuned car before. Are you shifting at like 6,000 RPM to get back to the torque, or are you running it out, or how did you decide?
I've never I've never experimented with that. I tended to just disregard shifts, um, because it saves me obviously risk of somebody else's car. I've never personally raced a flat power car. I've only done reference laps and stuff.
Yeah.
So uh I tended to just rely on whatever they told me as the car owner, and then I would eliminate shifts that made me uncomfortable.
See,
So usually that means eliminating second to third gear shifts. But the bigger thing is the sensation of speed is actually way worse than a car that has natural power,
yeah.
because you don't have that build that gives you the sensation of the car getting better and faster and faster and
Yeah, it kind of
faster.
just falls
It's
off.
just what it is the whole time. So it feels like it's falling off, yes, but it's an illusion. It's not actually falling off. It's just that it's not giving you that build of torque and power throughout the power
Well, you're
band.
actually losing torque.
You're theoretically losing torque, so maybe play with it and update us next week. But
Yeah.
I've
So
always thought the same thing. I'm just like, maybe in theory you would be wanting to keep it in the sweet spot of the torque band rather than the power band. But I've never done the experiment myself.
so in iRacing, what I would do to like figure out the shift point of like a new car, or so maybe they've made changes to the car or whatever. Like for example, the Mustang in iRacing, you can rev it out to like 7K, but you actually shift at like 6,200 RPM.
Yeah.
And it's basically when the yellow lights turn on. If there's any iRacing people here that are like, maybe I'm going to drive the Mustang later, you shift when the yellow lights turn on, which is like well before the rev limiter, right? Um,
Hmm.
and that makes the car go faster. And then the same thing with the Formula Ford in iRacing. You shift at the I think when the first red light turns on, not when the blue light turns on. If the blue light turns on, you held the gear way too long, right? But the way I figured that out was I had data, and then like going down a straightaway, and then I would just shift at a different point and then just look over at the timer and go, is it faster or slower, right? So I was hoping to figure some of this stuff out during the test day, but if it's just raining the whole day, then it's going to kind of skew the data.
Or you just go out and drive straight and pull up data and look at
Oh yeah,
acceleration
you know
rates.
what? I didn't think about how I can actually like pull up a graph. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be easier to do in real life than it is in iRacing.
I hope it's not raining so hard that you can't go out without like hydroplaning off the track. That would suck. But if it is,
We'll
then
see.
I guess figure it out on.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like tornadoes, and it sounds like it's gonna be pretty gnarly.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty gnarly, dude.
Hmm. No refunds. We lost enough money last year on a rainy day. No refunds. Sorry, friends.
Or maybe hold on. Maybe I'm spreading some fake news right now because I know maybe it's a system that carried tornadoes like as I went through like the tornado belt and it's like going through CMP. So like maybe there won't
Maybe.
be tornadoes at CMP, but it's a big system that is like pretty a strong system. So it's not like it's going to just be clouds as it like passes over. It's going to be raining. But it's still a couple days out, so like you never know, like it might clear up. It might like rain in the morning and then be fine.
Right. Question.
What?
Have you and Jacob talked about curb usage?
No. I
So
was
did you
planning.
think
I
about
was
that at all?
Yeah, I was planning on it cuz it looks like the especially the exit curbing leaving the carousel that seems very beneficial to run over, and then the exit curbing leaving four seems very beneficial to run over as well. So
Massive. Yeah.
right. So I have to kind of gauge with Jacob like are we setting the fastest lap times period, or we circulating and doing our best? Like I have to figure out exactly what's going on with that. So
When I watched in tandem the difference in flat power, because last year I drove Zach and Lena's S2000s. I also drove a Corvette in the test day and something else GLTC, but it wasn't relevant. When I noticed the combination of flat power and extra track usage reliably without breaking the suspension out from underneath the car, it was like one of the most discouraging days I've ever had regarding GLTC. It was just like, oh, They were literally completely out to lunch. There's
Well,
no way.
and then also you have to think like the diameter of the wheel and tire, the larger the diameter is, the less the curbing actually affects it because it falls into the curbing less because it actually has like a longer uh
I think
um
they're very similar though. I mean, 18 by 10 and a half versus probably 18 by 11s or 12s.
are they not on 19s?
Corvettes, I mean, maybe a little.
Well, last time I was there, I was driving a Miata on 15-inch wheels, so those curvings were freaking gnarly.
Yeah, I think that's how they feel all the time. Of everything I've ever driven there, they feel bad. But how big, how sturdy is the car is the question.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
And
I don't know. I'll feel it out. I'll feel it out. I've never driven a Corvette race car. I'm curious where the steering wheel ends up. Should I bring an extension? You know, like some cars, the steering wheel's kind of like far away from you.
you think about driving these cars way more than I do.
I'm thinking of all the things. Like, do you think an extension
You
like
have a
would be
steering
needed?
wheel extension?
Yeah, I bring all this shit to me when I drive other people's cars. What do you just jump
What?
in? You just like jump in the car and like, oh, this is fine.
Yes.
Oh my god,
Yes.
get out of here, Tom. I'm
What do
sick.
you okay,
I'm sick
explain
of
this
your. I'm
extension.
sick of your shit.
What do you That's like a mechanical piece you have to expect to fit every single car? Is that what
Hold
you
on.
do?
No, I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll entertain the crowd now. I cannot fathom bringing my own steering wheel extension to make sure that it fits. You have the part now? You have the car part?
It's just an extension. It's a steering wheel extension. So this, like, you would have. This is a different quick release, but it's a quick release that. So you would bolt this onto the side that like normally you would have the quick release like on the car, right? We'll use my microphone as the thing, and then the steering wheel would be here, but instead you put the extension in between it, and now the steering wheel is closer.
You know what else you can do?
What, put a
You
pad
could
behind
bring
my
a
back?
pillow and put it behind you.
I have all the pads.
Yeah.
I have all the pads. But some seats, I haven't seen the seat. I don't know anything about the car. Some seats, if like you like get pushed, if you get pushed out of it a little bit, like you're kind of like sitting on top of the seat, and that gets a little fatiguing.
I did a reference lap once for this guy that was way taller and bigger than me. I was sitting on a pillow and sitting behind a
In
pillow
front of a
behind me.
pillow, yeah.
Yeah. And when when it was those squishy pillows, like the memory foam that would kind of like expand back up.
Yeah.
So I was like fully out of the seat. I would do a corner and I would squish down the memory foam and
That
kind of
sounds
roll over into
miserable.
it, and then it would expand back up down the straightaways.
That sounds terrible.
uh it was not great.
I
A pit race, no less. It was very busy. But okay, I would say bring it, obviously, but I've never thought about that in my life. Is that because you have sim racing gear? Why do you have that?
sim racing stuff, yeah.
Got it.
But
That makes
I
sense.
also have an extension on my own race car because I needed the wheel like 6 inches closer to me because of where I put the seating position.
Sure.
So like I was like, oh yeah, steering wheel extensions are really great. So like when I drove Kevin Zoo's car at Lime Rock 2 years ago, year and a
Mhm.
half ago, um, he had the wheel way too far away from him for where his seating position was. So then I put the extension in, and I was like, okay, cool. Now I can drive this car because before I was like reaching for the wheel, and it didn't matter. It did like if I put things behind me, then my legs were too close to the pedals, right? But then so like the wheel was in a good spot, but then my like legs were like squished into the pedals. So like it was like I was like kind of like the brake and the gas like transfer was tough because like my knee was like kind of in the dash, and for my knee to be in the dash, like I'm only 5'7". If my knee's in the dash, like something's really weird with the seating position, right? So I
Yeah.
would just sit back in the seat. The pedals were fine, but then the steering wheel was too far away. So I had an extension with me, brought the steering wheel closer to me. Kevin even loved it. So now Kevin has an extension in his own car, but like I brought mine just in case.
Then I would say absolutely bring it. I've never driven. I mean, these cars are all different in every single way, basically,
Yeah,
even
true.
though they're the same. So
That's
I
that's
don't
the
know how
thing
to
about a
predict
race
where the
car.
wheel's going to be.
Yeah, that's the thing about a race car. So, all right. Well, I'm excited. I'm a little nervous just because
I'm excited to watch.
just I haven't like endurance racing is not the same. Um, so just because
Yeah, but you've
the
mostly been doing sprint
intensity.
racing in the sim.
Yeah. I think I'll be fine in that regard. It's like I think more what I'm nervous about is like the shit I can't control.
You can't control it. Don't worry about it.
That is good advice, Tom. I should do
My
that.
mom told me that. Yeah.
Thanks,
Um,
Mrs. O'Gorman.
I'm trying to remember last year. You should go back and watch. Um, you should go back and watch all the races and figure out which side of the track ended up better off in all 4 races,
Oh,
left or right,
you're saying on race starts?
on race starts. Yeah.
It seemed like it seems like the inside of turn one was better. I've already watched. I watched a bunch of Luke McGrew and Swenson footage, and they had the starts like to every race, and inside always
What
seemed like
about
it came out okay.
where was Luke? Third, fourth?
The race one he was third, but then Curly broke because it was 1, 2, 3. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4 Corvette at CMP. So
It
Curly
was.
broke and then took the whole right row with him, and then Luke was in the left row, so he ended up in second.
Maybe go back and watch the live streams and watch for like 10th.
Uh,
I don't think you're going to be 10th.
no, like I'd be like, race one wouldn't matter because like the whole second row got like they all stacked up and hit
Yeah,
each other because the car broke on the front row.
but you know what I'm saying about how like Gingerman, statement of fact, unless you're on the front row, you want to be on the right. Coda, statement of fact, unless you're on the front row, you want to be on the far outside. Like you can do that. You can do that deductive reasoning from watching the past
I see
races.
what you're saying. So like as the race starts, if something opens up on the right side, I know that that's where I want to be. That's why you're saying that, right?
Or better case, even yet, you get to pick.
If I get the pick, then everything's going very well. But I would probably just pick
Mm-hmm.
the inside because the radius that you're taking in, if like you turn in a little early, where then you like use the whole track, like I don't think unless like you're sleeping on the green flag, I don't think that car would have enough overlap on you to stick on the outside there. I think you would cover up the lane that they would have, and then it would stack them up behind you while you get like a good run out of 4. I think the inside would always be better.
In at CMP
Yeah,
or everywhere. Oh, okay.
at CMP, at CMP.
I just have this vague memory that ending up around the outside of 1 gave you the inside through 2. If you're not familiar with CMP, it's like a three corner sequence. Consider it kind of like stair steps, like a left, right, left, and each one's a little bit faster. So you would go into this tight left, and you would run the outside. It's really tight on a start, but then you get the inside of 2 in the right, and
And
then you get to swoop the outside of 3
and
and
the
maybe get more momentum down the next actual straightaway, which is usually where you need to plan for where do I get momentum into the straightaway. I don't
right.
know. Go study it. Go study it.
I'll
Giving you homework.
I feel like I have, and I think the inside's better, but maybe I'll see something that tells me otherwise because I had the same thought because literally because of Gingerman, right? But I think Gingerman's different because it has that as long as you don't get shoved off track like turn one,
You
then
get pinched.
yeah, but you'll win that engagement because you get the right hander of 2 and then the right hander of 3. And if
Right.
somebody's stuck around your outside through 2 and 3 at Gingerman, then they deserve to be there. They're literally doing a better job than you. So
And do better.
yeah, do better than you've been doing. Um, but I think the radius of 1, assuming like unless they're if their wheel is at your mirror, then I think they're able to have overlap, uh, like by the exit of 1. But I think you can take an angle in where you turn in early, so like you're impacted for turn 2, but they have nowhere to go because there's a car in front of them, right? Do you understand like the what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I was just that was something I remember last year being a thing. But holding the outside into 4 would be really hard too. That's a fast. Like you're gonna lose the run if you're on the outside of 4 and you both brake and turn it at the same time. You're gonna lose that.
Turning in at the same time would be really tough because like you almost have to wait for the
Yeah.
person on the inside to turn in to like if you're turning in at the exact same time as them, then maybe you could keep that there, but you're gonna lose that going toward the carousel.
Honestly, it's not a great racetrack from what I remember. For like a racing.
I think it's gonna lap fine, but yeah, I think it's gonna race very
Yeah.
tough because like you also have leading into I think it's 8 before the fastest part of the track that leads into the kink, right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
8 like narrows down and the inside curbing is like not the friendliest. And then you want like I think the best passing opportunity is like out of the carousel because that's an easy corner to mess up. But then you're still going to be side by side by the time you get to 8, which completely ruins your run down the back straight. So if there's cars
Yeah.
in front of you or behind you, then the cars behind you are going to be hounding you because they're going to get a clean run out of 8. Or down the back straight, if there's anybody in front of you, if you don't just have like gobs more pace than them, you're now whatever position you were just racing for, you're racing for. So like I have a feeling like qualifying is gonna be super important, and
Hmm.
wherever I end up, like in order to pass people, I think I'm just gonna have to pressure them into a mistake. I don't think there's oh, I got a better run and I'm gonna create overlap and then like this is gonna turn into a pass without losing like a bunch of time. And it obviously depends on like how the race is playing out, whether that's gonna be like the better move or not. But I think like I was watching some footage from Waldbaum and he had overlap going into 8, but it meant he would have lost like everyone in front, so he literally just like filed back in because he's like, I could like try to hang it on the outside of 8, but like that's probably not going to work. And I feel like I would probably make the same decision where I'm like, yeah, maybe I could hang it on the outside 8, but like probably not. And then we just like are slow, and then we're just getting like swarmed by the people behind us.
Yeah. He
So,
was probably also scared of hitting curbs because we broke like 3 spindles last year
oh, that's right. So there's
on
something about
curbs.
those curbs. There's like a resonance to them.
They're bad. They're the big chunks. Like if you're not on camera, they're like 5 to 6 inch maybe slots, not maybe 4 to 5 inch slots cut out. So they're like these really deep ruts that your whole wheel. It's just the only track I've ever been to that's as worse on curbs as that one, as bad on curbs, is Road
Road
America.
America, yep.
Yeah, brutal.
Yep. I wish they were a little bit more friendly because the curbs do add extra racetrack where I think it like helps the flow of the track, but the
I
they're
think you're in a car that can take it. I think you'll be fine.
I think so. I obviously it's not my car, so I gotta feel that out with Jacob. Where it's like,
Yep.
hey, you know, there is gonna be wear and tear if I'm running over the specific curbs that I think add to the lap time. Uh so hey, you know what the good news is? Is the kink is flat.
Tell me. Yeah, if the kink's not flat, you're doing something real wrong. I promise you.
The kink is very flat. It is
Hey, everyone in GLTC, here's a free tip. The kink is flat. I don't care what car you're in. I don't care what you're driving. The kink is flat.
kink is
So
flat. It's easy flat. You shouldn't even
like so
it looked hairy in the lap that you drove in the Ulrich's Corvette. I don't know why it looks so hairy. But every other car
because that was
just
my first lap, and I was like, I'm gonna go flat. Like every lap beyond that would have been cleaner, but I did the one lap.
yeah, gotcha.
It had
Okay.
no arrow. It had no arrow on it. That's why.
You think no arrow would have been sketchy into that turn? Cuz it like everyone else going through that corner, it looks like they're just turning.
I'm telling you, my video, the car does not have arrow.
Yeah. I'm saying, do you think every lap would have been that sketchy going through the kink with no arrow?
Maybe within like a half. What am I trying to say? Maybe within like 50% hairiness of that.
Okay.
It would have been driving the car, but not as crazy as that one. That one was like it took me 3 tries to catch it.
Yeah. It was like I forget what car we were talking about where it's like you would catch the Peter's FRS had VIR where I would like catch it
Oh
and then
yeah,
and then it would keep going and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess we're still doing this." And then I would catch it again and then yeah. But yeah,
our
go ahead.
the WRL Cayman would do that too, because it wasn't like set up yet basically, and it would do this like it wouldn't turn until you release the brakes, and then it would turn really sharp. But as soon as you tried to like catch it with the throttle or something, it would just death push again. So it would end up doing this like walk through the corners. I sent you the video. You know what I'm talking about.
That sounds like way too
Um,
soft to springs.
it had 300-pound front springs that day. Yes, they were a little soft.
Wait, what was on the rear? Do you remember?
We don't know. No, it had. It's a long boring story. We don't know.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that behavior where you can't you literally can't manipulate the weight around the car to like change the balance or like ride a glide or anything sounds like the springs were too soft. That's how the Civic was when I first got it. The springs were like a little too soft, so like the moment I would get a pivot on entry and then the moment I would even touch the throttle it would just push.
spring back up.
Yep.
Boing.
Boing. All right, Tom, do we want to answer some emails?
Sure. I'm ready.
You ready? Damn, are you ready? Because I haven't even brought them up. It's time to bring up a big white window that makes my face look bright. Oh, it showed up on another monitor.
If you do the thing, I'll start reading the first one.
Oh. Emails.
All right. I'm going to start with this one. It's a longer one. We have 2 questions in one. This is from Taylor Wargo. He's emailed before. It looks like a follow-up of a previous one titled Sucks to Suck. Y'all, I'll start by saying I certainly will take DJ up on, I just got to pop up. Sorry. Y'all, I'll start by saying I will certainly take DJ up on a computer and rig setup. I've applied a lot of what I've heard through the podcast, screen height and proximity mostly, but I'm happy to hear more focused feedback on my rig and settings directly. Have you done that yet?
I think it's on the calendar. Taylor had
Good.
a really busy couple weeks, so it's somewhere in the future.
I'm realizing he's referencing his first question. It might not make a lot of sense if we don't go back to the first question.
Uh-oh.
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 Uh-oh. I got in too deep too fast.
This email's falling apart.
He says, I've curated my response to each of your input, again with more context, and underlined the follow-up questions if applicable. I'm really only putting this out there for anybody else who's in a similar boat. Let's just charge in and see if this makes sense. DJ, I do need to use the replays. Analyzing video in real life is something I've not utilized yet, so I haven't given that tool a great chance to shine in this context either. To be fair, I don't know if I can use it well. Question: what am I looking for here? Question mark. Consistency, an alternate perspective that shows the bad shape of the curve that's not seen initially. What am I looking for?
What is he looking for
That's
on
the
the
first question.
replays? So it's kind of like in the beginning of the podcast where I talked about where I would watch like High Cotter driving an autocross run, and then I would go back to watch mine. So watch their lap again and again and again and again, and then go watch your lap. You'll see the differences because you've watched their lap so many times, you're anticipating what's going to happen next. And then because you have such a intimate knowledge of exactly where they're placing the car, where they were shifting, like where they're hitting the brakes, like exactly what angle they were at the apexes and everything, because like you're anticipating that to happen because you just watched their lap like 10 times in a row. When you go back to watch your lap, you're going to see those like minute differences and you're going to understand, oh, okay, they're getting more of a backside angle on this that allows them to get the power sooner. So then they carry the speed down the straightaway like more, right? Or maybe you won't even put it together like that. Maybe you won't even understand why that looked better, but then you can go out and like try to do it.
I agree with the what you have to have a comparison. I guess just watching your replay. For the way I use replay in video especially in car is comparison. And if I have a chance, I like to watch my own car from a third person perspective, like a trackside camera, something like that. I don't do a whole lot of rewatching my own video in car, unless it's for like my own reminiscing or fun. But I don't watch that educationally as much as I watch others. And then, like I said, if I if I have a chance in a video game replay mode or in real life, if it's like a TV or a broadcasted race or something where you can see the perspective of the car, that just confirms to me where the car is visually from the outside, where like it's easy to misconstrue where you think you are in real life in the car.
Yeah.
And if you watch it from a third person perspective and realize like, oh my God, I haven't hit that apex this entire session, or oh, I'm realizing that I'm insert anything here. You can pick up little things from the outside that are tough to see from the inside. Yeah. So the next part is back to the email. One of the things go ahead.
There's some things that you can see as well, like when you're watching from the outside, like if you're watching like a broadcast of your race or whatever, like you might see like, wow, I'm sliding the car way more than these other people, and they're like, and they're making time on me. It's like maybe I was slightly overdriving it, like it felt like I was killing it, but maybe I was just killing it.
Totally. Or like you can see weight transfer from the perspective of the car more than perspective of what you feel.
Yep.
There's things like that that are really nice to be able to have. So I think the short answer, Taylor, to that question is you're looking to compare to other drivers to hone in on what you may be able to try. Is that a good answer?
Yeah. But I think
So go
you
ahead.
you wanna see what the difference is, and I think, and you'll have to report back, Taylor, but I think when you watch somebody whose lap is faster than yours, and then you go back to watch yours, I think it's pretty obvious the things that they're doing better than you and the ways that you can approach those differences. Um, I could be wrong. Like, that could be just something where I'm like, "Oh, like, it made sense to me, but, like, maybe it doesn't make sense to somebody else." I do realize that is a possibility, but I'm pretty confident that if you watch and you notice the differences that lead to a better time for them, then you'll understand, like, what you need to do to get to that point. Or
Yeah,
at least, like, you'll see the direction your driving should head in to be able to do that.
agreed. Excuse me. So next part, one of the things I've correlated, this is Taylor talking again. One of the things I've correlated as translatable in real life is the value of intentional inputs because of the resolution provided from running laps and corners over and over and over. Intentional is not something I did well or possibly at all in real life before sim stuff. My default is very seat of the pants, feel and dance. I like that. Seat of the pants, feel and dance. Every time I show up, it's all car control and meh application. Trying things for the sake of a reset isn't something I've entertained because I lack some faith that I can do the right thing consistently enough, but also be able to deviate intentionally. Question is, how do you manage and practice the balance of try and apply of driving in the simulator and even in real life? How do you manage and practice the balance of try and apply in driving on the sim? Taylor's like a wordsmith.
Yeah,
Do you understand that question? I don't think I quite understand this question.
Taylor,
Yeah.
he's like a little Dr. Seuss over here.
Seat of the pants, feel and dance. Manage and practice the balance of try and apply. Okay, so I think he's basically asking
I think he's asking
how
like the experimentation of like what works and what doesn't.
yeah, and how do you find the line of how long to try stuff versus how do you hone in on what's the right thing to do? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think we talked about this last week, right? Didn't we have an email that was very similar last week's episode that was like, this sounds familiar. This is a recent thing. To me, that's a really tricky question because this does actually, you know, when it came up when we were talking about learning new tracks. Because I remember at Hedge Hollow, when we were practicing, I tried different things way more than I normally do because I didn't have a right answer as a reference point because there was no other reference points for like drivers with experience at that track or in-car videos or simulators for me to try. Something for me to hone in on like this is kind of what the right answer is and then I just have to tweak it for this car in this day.
Yeah.
So how do you manage the balance of try and apply? I don't know that there's a great answer to that question because
I'm trying to like hone in on like what I feel well, I think it comes down to references, right? Like it's your experimentation has purpose and like direction. You're not just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like
yeah,
you kind of have like a baseline knowledge of like what is probably best, but then you also realize that like maybe these other things, like these other approaches to the corner. Like for example, like Keyhole at Mid Ohio, right? You could have like a really late apex. You could do a double apex. You could just like hug the inside the whole time and then just like focus on exit or whatever, right? Like there's specific corners where like you can try a bunch of different aspects to like I could see all of these working. And then maybe your experience would say, okay, well, actually, these there's like two that like might actually be the right approaches for these, or like sometimes there's like corners where it's better to just like completely just like sail speed into it and not have any kind of setup for the following corner. Because like the speed that you gain on entry is like you'll never make that up on exit if you set it up otherwise. Like turn four at Mid Ohio is what I'm thinking of, or turn I turn not turn one, turn two at Charlotte Roval. Yeah, like there's certain corners where like you don't slow it down enough to like set up the next corner. You just like sail the appropriate amount of speed through, make whatever space you can, but the speed that you actually sail through that corner while not setting up the next corner is going to be faster, right? So like it's not everything is as cut and dry as it could be, but like as you gain experience, you start to understand like how like this scenario is different than this other one. Like remember when I was getting my butt whooped in the Porsche Cup and iRacing, and one of the places I was losing time was turn was it 14 and 15 on Sebring, and I was like, "There's something going on here where I'm not understand. Like, I need to add it to my like if then algorithm in my head, so like
Yep.
so I can like understand this nuance in the future. So like understanding those nuances at that racetrack like might help me in the future when I drive some other racetrack with a element that's giving me like a similar vibe check. Um,
Vibe check.
uh, So I think that's kind of where the balance of try and apply comes in. So like the more tracks you drive, the more cars you drive on the more tracks, the more just like you're just like adding just like this repertoire of knowledge, then you'll have a little bit more direction on how to experiment. But then the important part is also that like you have references when you're experimenting and you have a purpose behind what your experimentation is. You're not just trying random stuff. You're not like a machine learning like AI bot that tries like literally stuff randomly and then is graded after like what is the best. Like that's you we have more precision than that, right? So like you have to think about like the past experience that you have and how that applies to whatever section of a track or course or whatever you're trying to figure out, and then have a direction of the experimentation. That's what I would say.
The only thing I'd add to that is the importance of trying to repeat the same thing until it feels, let's say, I think you should get to 90% of the right answer pretty quickly. If you have the experience enough to like identify a driving line, it's pretty basic, right? You should be able to get to the 90% answer pretty quickly, and then you should be doing some repetition enough that you are mostly maximized in what your capabilities are with that particular uh, baseline, let's say, and then try something new and give it a couple chances to see if it's better. And it may not end up being faster overall, but it may give you a little hint of like, oh, I could probably, let's say, break a little bit later, but not as much later as I did. Or, there's a
Yeah.
happy medium from doing the thing that you came to very quickly that's 90% there, but then give it 10 reps, for a whole session or something, or a whole, bunch of runs, and then tweak it for an entire session and see if it ever gets any better. If it doesn't get any better, you still might have learned something, I
So
guess.
sometimes you come across something where like you try a section of a track a little different. Like maybe you just whatever. I'm not gonna come up with an example, but you like do it a little differently and it comes out to be the exact same time, but you're like,
Hmm.
well, that was more repeatable. Like that was easier. So then obviously
Yes.
that's gonna work. Or like if you're wheel to wheel racing, you're like, well, okay, so that was the same time, but I got like a different exit, right? So like if I'm trying to attack somebody, then maybe that can come into play, right? Like you're like thinking of like those things. Like how okay,
Yeah.
so I
You're going to
now
learn
know
something from trying it.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Totally.
So like turn 17 at Sebring. There's like a million different ways to do that turn. And basically, as long as you're at the limit of adhesion, you kind of come out doing this like it basically equals out on time. But the
Yeah.
path that you take might be more useful. Like you should be able to do all the paths because depending on like the situation wheel to wheel, like you might be getting passed by a faster car in traffic. So like a
Yep.
wider entry makes sense because they're going to dive on the inside. So then you drive the same time through that corner, but it and you gave a place for that faster car to go and you lost zero time.
Right. Okay, so there's a couple more layers to this one. He says, back to Taylor's question, crashing the car seems extra defeating as the instances stack against my rating, and worse, can ruin the race for others. Lack of trust with other splits I'm in is also one of the challenges. I don't trust reading the car, so I lack the confidence that I can go door to door with somebody without ruining it for both of us. I think I'm initially pushing the capabilities of my driving and suffer from the misjudgment often, which then starts a spiral where I get timid and don't want to, and want to underdrive to survive. Underdrive to survive. Taylor, you got so many quotes in this thing. So Tom, your
Tom,
expectations for self and feeling like not a fool. Whoa. Your expectations for self and feeling like a fool, not meeting the expectations is pretty spot on for where I'm at currently. So thanks for sharing that. I think muscle memory is a huge part of where I'm handicapping myself with growth. Trying other cars and courses seems daunting, as running the cars I know on the tracks I know is my safe space and enjoyable enough. Deviation from my muscle memory is where passing or defending leads to mistakes. So the question is, there's one more question after this too. How would you recommend I tangibly practice breaking out of this muscle memory comfort zone? Dude, if you're talking about a video game, it's a video game. Drive something else. You don't even have to race it. Just go freaking drive it. Do practice sessions. Do offline sessions. Download Assetto Corsa. Like just be feeling like in your safe space with a video game. I understand, but I think is a false wall. Like it doesn't exist.
well, and then also we've talked about in this podcast where like in order to rapidly improve at something, you need to be at the boundaries of what your excuse me, at the boundaries of what your current limitations are, right? You need to be a little
Yep.
uncomfortable. You can't if you're 100% comfortable, then your learning is diminished. We learn the most, not when we're overwhelmed, not when we're like absolutely thrown to the fire, though sometimes that's beneficial. Um, but most of the time, we're most effective at learning when we're at the boundary of what our knowledge is, when we're a little uncomfortable, but equipped to handle it, right? So, and it's up to you to understand where that is. Now, the deviation from muscle memory, um, and the defending leads to mistakes and whatever. That's that's racing, right?
That's part of learning.
Yeah, but that's so like the more that you're racing and you're defending and all and these little mistakes, that's just part of the process. Like you're gonna make those mistakes. Everyone makes those mistakes. And then as you do it more, because you're on the boundary of what you're comfortable with, as you do it more, you start to get better and better and better and better at it. And then eventually, because you've been doing it so much, it becomes something that you're not stressed out about. If anything, like it's I mean, it should be. Even being stressed out about it, it should be like part of the fun. Like the racing, like the offline. I need to leave a space for that person to exist. As you're like catching a person, you're like, well, how accurate are they? Like how much space should I be leaving them? Maybe they're so out of control in their car, like I just pressure them into a mistake and then I drive by them, like I don't have to trust them next to me, right? Like you'll start gaining these like this insight, and it almost feels like at some point like a spidey sense, because you'll have like all this experience and you don't even know where it's coming from, but you're like, I knew that was going to happen. Like I've won races where I'm like, I'll give this person a bump draft, and like maybe it's because they've been like kind of like it the battle, I'll be in third in the battle. Do you remember the SEMA race, Tom, in the Porsche
No,
Cups? You were
no, I'm
commentating
sorry.
it with Kyle, remember?
I black out when I'm on microphone.
Do you? Okay. Well, I was off pace. I was the third fastest in that race, and Austin Cobb, and he won the Volkswagen thing. He went pro racing for a little while with iRacing. I forget what his name is. Wyatt? I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Why couldn't?
Yes, Wyatt Gooden. So it was him and Austin. They were definitely faster, right? And I was just hanging on barely with the draft in third. And it was kind of escalating the race between them. And when they were fighting each other on the last lap going through turn 7, so onto the back straight, and I went like literally as we pull out of that, I went, "Oh my god, I think I won this race." Cuz my plan was I'm just going to poke a nose, make it 3 wide. They're not going to react to it appropriately because they've been like kind of so aggressive on each other. They're going to take each other out. I'm going to go win the race. What happened? I literally thought that as we're like driving down the back straight. What happened? I poked a nose. They ran into each other, and then I passed them both, and I won the race. And it was like
You sent him bad juju.
I
You're
didn't
like a
send them bad
voodoo
juju.
master.
It's like the reps, and you like just see it enough, and you understand like the body language of the cars. It's just Taylor. I guess what I'm trying to say is you just got to put in the reps, and you get better and better and better. And as long as you're putting yourself into a good headspace where like you're like this is part of the process, and try your best to love the process, and then it will work out. Like you'll learn these like little nuances and like the mannerisms of cars, and you'll get better at the racing part. Um, yeah, it you need the reps essentially, and
Uh,
you can't do it so infrequently where each time you hop on you're rusty. Like you have to have like the consistency where like the skills start to like build on themselves.
the last thing I'll say on that one is going out of your breaking muscle memory. You're gonna have to go further out of your comfort zone than you think. With the sense of like, if you're used to the Miata in your video game and you go to the GR86, that's not gonna
That's
do
not
it. You
enough.
gotta like do something polar opposite, so that your muscle memory breaks down completely and rebuilds from the ground up, and then build that spectrum of knowledge that you have to drive something slow and grippy to something horrible and powerful. You know, all of that stuff. So the last part of this email is the real nail on the head is we want to be as good as we are in real life and in the game. When we're not, and when we're not, we try too hard. I think the self-control to be intentionally a little bit slower to get fundamentals locked in is a great first step that I should apply. Getting there intentionally, not under the cloud of shame, is how I can enjoy the process as I build up from there. Do you have any mental checks or signs when trying too hard is in action?
When
For me, is when it feels hard. Like when I'm like, why does that corner feel so hard? Because I'm trying to go too fast. I'm trying too hard. Like that's when I can't get the car where I need it to be for any number of reasons. I'm trying too hard.
do you think he means trying too hard and like trying too hard to like make the lap time, or do you think he means like trying too hard
Yeah,
like like just overall? Cuz like
I
before you
took it
said
as
that,
make a lap time.
okay, because before you said that, I was gonna say like if you if doing the thing starts to make you unhappy, I would say that like you're trying too hard.
Yeah, that's a great answer too.
Like
Um,
if you're getting frustrated, like if you're let's say you're just chasing lap time and you like just keep messing it up. You're like, "Ah, it was going to be good." And then you mess it up again, right? And then you start like actually getting frustrated to the point where like your hands are getting tense on the wheel or whatever. Take a break. Time to walk away for a
yep.
little bit because you like raging at it isn't actually going to it's not it you're not going to see any like breakthroughs. It's not like all of a sudden you're going to hit the lap and be like, "Oh, thank goodness. Now I'm in a great mood." No, that's not how that works. Like you're just gonna
No,
you're just gonna get upset. So and I think uh after saying that, another way that you can like figure out if you're trying too hard is what your hands feel like on the wheel. Like are they nice and loose? And like are they just full of like getting feedback? Or are you kind of like are you like pinching the hands like between your hand and your thumb? Or are you like full on like death grip the wheel? If you're full on death grip the wheel, then we've been trying too hard for a little while. But if your hands are tense or like your shoulders are tense or whatever, like you're probably trying too hard.
yeah. And the last one is just mistakes, which we talked about a lot with multiple episodes, but most recently Ito, a couple of weeks ago. If you feel yourself making mistakes, the first one is a warning sign. The second one is the last chance you usually get, and then the third one's typically when something goes bad. So
Yep.
I think all of those are there. The last rounding out is with all of that. I don't think I drive too cautiously. Nope. Don't think that driving too cautiously is initially the challenge. I know a well executed consistency wins races. I guess that's why I'm in this stage of the journey on the sim and in real life for now. Hey, good one. Thanks, guys. Yeah, dude. The better you get, the harder it gets. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I remember last like I quick story. I remember the most frustrating years of my racing were 20 like 10 and 11 when I kind of like came out swinging in terms of autocross community. Like I won my first national tour. I was identified pretty quickly as like a quick driver, even though I didn't really know what I was doing. Going from that to the next 3 years of trying to go to nationals and try to win and all that stuff, I've talked about it before, were so frustrating because I was putting in the work, but I wasn't being that intentional about it. I was just like doing what
You're
I wanted to do. I
you
was
were
going
like,
to events. I was driving as much as I could and all this, but it wasn't that curated.
yeah.
Um, and it was so frustrating, but I knew that like in hindsight, I was doing that last 5%. If you want to, like, no one ever gets perfect, but I was doing that 90 to 95% work to get myself to where I what needed to be. Instead of it's like banging your head against the wall sometimes, dude. It's so hard when you're already pretty good.
I I think like this has happened multiple times in my life. It's not
And
just
oh,
driving. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
I
going
was
on a
just gonna
tangent.
say, cross your fingers. That I say that, Taylor, because I know you do a good job in autocross. You win events and that kind of like. I feel like I know where you're at, and I'm telling you, like, it's tough, but it's worth it. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think that's happened. We're like it just feels like you're putting in the effort, but like you're not seeing the improvement. And that happens a lot when like you first start because the gains are like so easy and it's just like so like you just feel yourself just this rapid improvement. Like you're just getting so much better.
Yeah.
Like every event you do, like whether it's like autocross or even like track events or even like sim racing, you're like, wow, I'm like way better like at the end of the month than I was in the beginning of the month, right? Like, go ahead.
And put it in a different context, weight loss. If you got 50 pounds to lose, the first 10 pounds, so easy. The last 10, holy cow, it's so hard.
Yeah,
Like it's with a lot of things. It's a scale and it's not linear. It
it's definitely
takes
not.
exponentially more work to get the last bit.
Yes, but that's why the exceptional performers are so impressive, especially the ones who stay there for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like Lewis Hamilton, he's like so impressive because he's been so amazing for so long. Because that to me tells me that like his amount of effort is not it's not something that he like has to will himself into. It's just a habit. Hamilton has a habit of like a super high detail oriented effort. What are you
I have
laughing
a
about?
I have a habit of excellence.
Not a habit of excellence because it's the behaviors. You're getting out of control. Um, it's the behaviors that influence the excellence, right? So like the looking at the small details, the little things that all add up, right? Like the people, the high performers that have been there for a very long time, they they've created habits in their lives where like these things are just like ingrained. They just do them because that's what they do. Like because they've been doing it for so long, so consistently that all these like little details start to add up and just it's like they've like incorporated it into like how they live. So having said that, when it feels like you're not getting gains out of your effort, there's two things. One, that's just how it feels like when you're going after those diminishing returns. That's kind of what it feels like. And then it will just it's almost like a door flies open and you're just like, "Oh, I guess things are happening now." But for like ever, it felt like nothing was happening. And it just kind
Yeah.
of felt like you're beating your head against a wall. And then just all of a sudden just it's like a snowball. It just like kind of takes off. Um and then the other thing is try not to get stuck just doing the same, like constantly reevaluate what you're spending your time and effort into uh, to make sure that like you are uh, that it's not just you're not focusing on the wrong thing, right? Like constantly try to reevaluate like exactly what you're throwing your effort into, and a lot of that is like the variety is the spice of life. Like we've talked about so many times, like if you really want to become the best driver that you can, um, you should include sims, autocrossing, karts, track stuff, ice racing, rally, all the things. Hot air balloons, I don't know, like just all the things. I haven't thrown that one in there yet, Tom. I'm waiting to get some real feel for what the car's doing underneath me. I'll ride a hot air balloon. Um, but it's it a consistent effort over a long period of time can do incredible things. So you just have to decide that the effort is worth it, and you'll get there. And that's kind of what I wanted that video, Tom, that I asked you to watch. That's kind of where I was going to take that mindset conversation. But you're gonna have to watch that video, and then we're gonna revisit it. Maybe like in
Deal.
2 weeks. I'm sure we'll be talking about CMP or other stuff next week. But maybe we can. I don't know if you watch the video. Maybe we could talk a little bit about mindset. It's actually incredible. Little teaser for next week's episode. It's actually incredible how much power the brain actually has over like the outcome of our physical bodies and like the results that happen outside of what seems like our control. But like the mindset and where you put your brain and how you view the world has so much to do with exactly what happens in that world. Quick quick example. Nope, actually, nope.
We're going.
I'm diving into it.
Wait,
We're an
I'm
hour
gonna
and a
reach
half.
over and buckle up.
Yeah, yeah. Hold on. We're an hour and a half in, and I almost started the topic that I wanted to do. But your brain has way more control over your body than you would even think it does. So maybe I'll in the Discord, I'm gonna post a link to the video. It'd be cool if like everyone watched it. And then when we're talking about it, people will kind of understand. We'll recap the video and like all the studies that they point to as well. But yeah, it was just like
Sounds like homework.
it is. I'm giving everyone homework. Sorry. Oh, I just heard the class groan. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys, but it's worth it. Uh, and I was thinking as I was watching that video, I was thinking of how we could apply like these ideas into our pursuit of excellence when it comes to driving or whatever else you're trying to do. So that's why I thought that would be a an interesting topic.
Let the people say amen.
Okay. All
I
right,
don't know. I didn't know how to.
Tom.
I didn't know how to agree with you.
We're almost an hour and 40 into this. I talked a lot this episode. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm all hyped up. I had a lot of caffeine today. I don't know if you noticed. Um,
You're just hyped on the sun. That
ah,
sun did the brain damage. The
you
sun
know,
rays that you looked into.
I did get a decent amount of sun in the last couple days, and I feel good. I think that might have something to do with it, Tom.
Oh, you actually have some vitamin D going on.
Yeah, I might.
Look at me. I'm starting to. No, I'm not.
I was
I
gonna
thought I had
say,
a little bit of
I think
suntan
this.
line going
I
on,
was gonna
but
say the exposure just makes everything look white. So
yeah.
you're like, look, I'm tan.
Dang
I'm
it.
like, no, you're not.
No.
So,
Oh well.
all right. So me and Tom are both gonna be at CMP on Thursday, but then Tom has to leave. So what are you doing, Tom?
Yep. I'm going to Mid Ohio with Auto Interests. It's the first public track day that is on the new pavement, and since I didn't get to drive on it for shit last weekend, I'm excited to go this weekend.
Woo woo!
What are you doing?
You gonna bring the BRZ or you're not tracking it?
No, nope.
Okay.
I'll do some coaching and some data laps and some fun rides and
Okay.
stuff.
Cool. Oh, how was the new Surface? I know you only
Dude, I
got like a
barely drove
lap and
on
a
it.
half on it, but like more grippy? Is it still?
Um,
Because
you know what? Let's do a full Mid Ohio new surface update next week.
okay, full Mid Ohio
My first
Surface update.
impression was like it was snowing, it was wet, it was so dusty, there were rivers across it. Uh, and then it was 35 degrees, and then I got crashed into. So
Okay, so Tom did not get a good read on it, but
basically,
okay. Hopefully, after this weekend, you get to drive a cop car on some snow tires, and you have the full
yeah.
detail of.
I will say, it looks very amateurish because the sides of the track are not very smooth or even or flush with the grass or anything. So it it looks a little chintzy.
I did notice that the surface looked like it was higher than some of the curbs.
Yes, but I don't think they changed the curbs. We'll go into it more next week. But
Okay,
it
next
it
week we
looks
talk
it
about Mid Ohio.
looks a little clubby now.
Oh no! It's like Nelson Ledges. Oh, is it the
I
same
don't even remember
company?
what Nelson looks like.
Well, like Nelson Legends,
That's
they added curbing because like the track was like 3 inches higher than the grass everywhere on it. Like it was it was like a racetrack on heels.
it looks like Gingerman 6 years ago before they added any paint or extra curbing or anything.
Okay, well that wasn't even I wasn't even on a racetrack 6 years
Yeah.
ago. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate you. And Tom, you ready to do the outro?
Yeah, guys, this is so exciting. The real events are happening. So as you're going out this weekend, no matter where you're going, I hope you get to drive something. I love your hair. I hope you win.